It's Mollena's Black History Minute, which is longer than a minute, 'cause I'm reclaiming my time. Yeah. Hey folks, it's time for the Black History Minute-ish. Black History flashcards from urbanintellectuals.com. Please check them out. Also, please like and subscribe. I will be continuing to do these for the rest of the month. I think I'm actually going to do 31 because fuck all of this 28-day nonsense. Today's Black History flashcard is Black Wall Street. This is a long story. Let us start with the basics, yeah? Black Wall Street, Greenwood, a suburb of Tulsa, Oklahoma, which existed from 1906 till 1921. But Mollena, you say, how could a town disappear? Well, let me fucking tell you. Greenwood was one of the first successful black economies in American history. O.W. Gurley, a wealthy African-American from Arkansas, moved to Tulsa, purchased over 40 acres of land, and sold it to other African-Americans in 1906 because, of course, buying property for us was a very difficult proposition when it was even permitted. It was illegal in a lot of places for free blacks to own land. Tulsa Race Riot of 1921. I'm sorry, let me skip back. During the oil boom of the 1910s, the area of northeast Oklahoma flourished because there was a lot of oil money flowing in, and a lot of African Americans were also finding their way to wealth. The Tulsa Race Riot of 1921, a two-day massacre of hundreds of black residents started by a white mob. Let me talk a little bit about what happened there. Apparently, the initial story was a black boy had assaulted a white woman and was carted off to jail. And of course, as is typical in those days, a white mob gathered to lynch the individual. No due course, nothing had happened yet at that point, right? So then a bunch of black men were like, you know what, we're not going to permit that to happen. Went down to the jail, offered to add in protection. Some of these men were veterans of World War I, and were told by the sheriff, no, we have this under control. As they were leaving, they realized it was not under control. They went back, entered into an altercation with the white men, and it just jumped off from there. I strongly advise for you to read the history. I know that a lot of more fictionalized events are winding their way into the public mainstream knowledge from several different series that have been on. I guess I haven't watched any of these because I'm a little too delicate at this point in my life, but I guess Lovecraft Country has a theme around this, and some other Watchmen as well. So of course this jumped off, and white residents started hearing rumors that a bunch of black people were on the way to offer support to the black residents. Looting started, fires were started, airplanes were used to bomb the houses. So much property was taken. Many black residents were interred in concentration camps. Many white residents were deputized, yeah, by the sheriffs and given guns and weapons and support. When fire trucks did come to try to put out the fires, they were threatened with violence by the white rioters, so the fires just continued until 2 days. I think it was a 2-day process. On the card here it says over 800 people were admitted to area hospitals, an estimated 10,000 people homeless, 35 city blocks of housing, 1,256 residences destroyed, and 600 successful businesses were lost. So basically, the destruction was pretty fucking epic in this scenario. And what's amazing to me is that this was essentially erased from the history books. The newspapers did not report it. Something as shocking as an entire segment of a town, basically its own town because it was its own self-contained unit because they could not receive services from the white parts of town, was destroyed in 3 days. I believe that recently a commission had been founded to try to offer restitution and compensation for the descendants of people who were lost. But for all of these stories that we know now, you've got to know that this happened over and over and over and over again in the 20th century in America. where towns were wiped out, people were wiped out, or just quietly people were eliminated, killed because they became too successful. P.S. It turned out after an investigation, because they did do one, that the woman had not been attacked. He bumped into her, and she screamed because she's racist, and a black man bumped into her. He was acquitted of all charges and released and left Tulsa, never to return. The community mobilized its resources and rebuilt Greenwood area within 5 years of the race riot in spite of political efforts to prevent reconstruction. Of course, it was obviously never the same as it had been. Eventually, I guess, all of the folks were released from the concentration camp into which we had been placed, and there you have it. This really gets to me because I feel like this is a very tangible marker as to the sort of damage that ripples outward for generations. You know, how many more of us would have been, you know, Rockefellers and Trumps if we had been just left alone? Not even given a handout or a leg up, just fucking left alone. And we weren't, and we still aren't. Thank you for listening. And I strongly, strongly advise you to go Google, pick up a couple, there's several documentaries on this that are very educational and very instructive, and I would recommend that you read them and educate yourself, because this too is America.